to Thunderstruck. It's been quite a time here in Yucaipa to say the least, with the Dorado Fire causing widespread evacuations throughout the area. We spoke to a few students, and here are their stories about last week.
So I'm here with Sarah Traub, who had to evacuate from the Dorado Fire. So Sarah, where did you go?
My family and I went to my grandparents' house.
How long were you evacuated for?
About 5 days.
What was the hardest part about being evacuated from your home?
The stress, definitely.
How close was the fire to your house?
The back burns were closer than the actual fire.
Are you doing better now that you're home?
We are. And I'm doing school now, so.
The Dorado Fire affected me and my environment by the air quality, and I have a whole bunch of animals, so I couldn't really evacuate to get them out in time.
Containment of the fire comes by several means. First thing, it has to have a line cut around it, whether it be hand line made by people or a line made by a bulldozer. And then on the burn side of that line, all of that material that's been burned has to be mopped up, which is what we mean when we put water on it, and get it so that there's no chance that that fire can then jump that line, that containment line, and spread again.
Okay. And how are the conditions that we're dealing with today versus how when the fire was contained?
So it's not contained yet. It's only partially contained. The conditions are still hot weather. There are some winds that are developing later on this week that can be a problem. But it's a little bit better than when the fire started, because when it started, it was, the temperatures were in the 110 to 120 range. So even though it's still hot, it's better than when the fire started.
On a lighter note, it's not just you who is just done with virtual learning. Check out this picture that went viral of a kindergartner in his virtual elementary school class. That's about right. I think everyone has had those days since last March, students and teachers. And now to sports.
It's been the most frustrating year for sports fans. March Madness, canceled. The NBA and NHL are playing out the season. Pac-12 and Big Ten football delayed. Closer to home, just how are the sports we play for at YHS affected? We went to the top authority at YHS for answers on that matter. Our athletic director, Mr. Carpenter. Let's go to that report now.
I'm here with Mr. Carpenter, athletic director. How you been, Mr. Carpenter?
I'm good. How are you doing, Johnny?
I'm good. So, how do you feel about the Pac-12, the Big Ten, SEC, and ACC all being canceled?
Well, it's interesting. If you're talking specifically about football, is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Fall sports.
So it's interesting because I feel like they kind of made an agreement that they would all cancel, and then the Big Ten and Pac-12 backed out, and then everybody else kept playing. So right. I think there's really one of two things. Either it highlights that the disease is impacting different parts of the country differently. Right. So maybe it's not safe for the Pac-12 and Big Ten to play, and maybe down south it is. Or it's just, different priorities, and maybe financially it's, there's more money at some of those other schools, so they're able to set up situations where it's safe for athletes. I'm not really sure. It kind of seems like an odd situation, like maybe the Big Ten and Pac-12 thought everybody was going together and they didn't. Right. But I don't know all the ins and outs of what happened there, but it's sure an odd situation to be honest.
Right. So how do you think we've been affected as a high school and sports-wise due to the virus?
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I think the biggest impact, I'm hoping we get to play, number one. Right. Number two, when we do, it's going to be fast and furious, because we're packing, full seasons into shorter periods of time. And I think the biggest downer is kind of for multi-sport athletes, and specifically we've got some athletes who had two different sports, and I'll use an example like basketball and golf are different seasons, but this year basketball and golf are the same season. And so that athlete's going to have to go from basketball to golf and try to do both, and that's going to be hard. And there's restrictions on how many hours you can practice and play, etc. So we're going to try to do our best by those athletes. Right. I'm hopeful we get to play. Yeah, I really am. I try not to even think about us not playing,
Right.
you know, and until somebody tells us we're not, I'm assuming we are.
Right. So
And we'll prepare for it.
Gotta stay positive.
Yeah.
And so when we do get back, if we get back,
Mhm.
are we gonna have any fans, or are we gonna have cardboard boxes? You know what I'm saying?
Well, we probably won't have the cardboard cutouts. I was listening to some interview today, and it was talking about what it costs to have a cardboard cutout at SoFi Stadium where the Rams and Chargers play. It's
Yeah.
like thousands of dollars.
Okay, yeah, no.
We won't be doing that. But, I'm hopeful. I tend to think if we play, that means that something has changed with the virus and we're able to be together,
Yeah.
and that we'll have fans. But I think there's a chance that they say, you know, we can play, but without fans, just to minimize risk of spreading the disease.
Right.
So I can see either. I think this disease changes weekly, it seems like, and what we learn changes.
Right.
And so I think we'll just have to go when they tell us what we can do, we'll do it. And if I'll do anything we have to do to play.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
So if it's no fans, it's no fans, you know, but I think we'd be happy to play even.
Okay, and do you have any advice for the students at home? I mean, the athletes at home,
Sure.
and how they can stay in shape? What do you guys
Yeah,
say?
so just a couple things. I think mentally, I think it's important to keep a positive outlook. You know, I find myself some days just looking, I see all the negative.
Right.
And I really think it's important to try to find positives in every way you can. And time with your family or time to better yourself, both physically and mentally. I think from a physical, preparing yourself to play, I think the important thing is to find, you know, I would say if nothing else, if you have weights, obviously you can lift, you can run, you can walk, you can jump, but improve your core. You know, find a good workout video that you can do that improves your core. I think there's plenty that can be done and improve yourself. You know, I talk to my kids, are we going to sit at home, we're going to do nothing, and we're going to come back worse?
Right.
Or are we going to find ways to get better? You know, and it's simple stuff, and, you know, just getting out and working out and finding ways. I think just improving your core overall, that's going to help every athlete in every sport.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Mr. Carpenter.
No problem.
Until next time.
All right, we'll see you.
That's tough. But hang in there, athletes, and remember to use this opportunity to get in the best physical shape of your life. And now to entertainment.
And I said, that's not a camel. That's my what? Oh shoot, didn't see you there. Unfortunately, last week's 80s edition of Thunderstruck was pushed back. But that means that if you didn't get to send in a picture last week, you have this whole weekend until the end of the day on Monday to snap a totally rad picture and to send it to the account or tag it at 80sclub_84 for a chance to be featured on the 80s edition of Thunderstruck. Come on, what's stopping you?
And that's all for Thunderstruck. Catch you next week, T-Birds.